Good afternoon, good morning, good evening to all of you joining us from different time zones. We are delighted to have you with us today. Um, we know that some participants may still be logging in, so let's give them for about 2 minutes before we start to give everyone a chance to join. In the meantime, please make yourself comfortable and thank you for being here. We'll be starting in 2 minutes. Thank you. Okay, a very warm welcome to all of you joining us today for this How to Child Rights Series peer exchange webinar, where we will be focusing on environment and climate action and how these issues can be integrated into the African Children Charter's monitoring and reporting process, with children being at the center. My name is Reta Gitacho. I work for the African Child Policy Forum. I'm also one of the external experts for the African Committee of Experts working group on children's rights and climate change. My role today is to moderate this launch and peer exchange webinar. Thank you again for joining us. Just a few housekeeping issues quickly before we start. To ensure everyone can understand what I'm saying, there is a simultaneous interpretation available in 4 languages: English, French, Arabic, and Portuguese. Please check instructions in the chat box. Now, as we speak, my colleagues are posting instructions in the chat box, and you'll see also a globe icon on the screen where you can choose your preferred language. So I hope you are able to hear what I'm saying in your preferred language now. Okay. If in case there is any problem, please let us know through the chat box, please. Please also note that the session is recorded and the recording will be saved online on the resource dedicated page for this webinar that Jessica will put in the chat box as we speak. Yes, Jessica, and we will share that with all of you afterwards, along with other resources that we will be mentioning today. So now I invite you, I have seen also some people already writing their names, but I invite you all to type your name and organization, where you are joining us from, and what you are working on, name, position, organization, to help us get to know one another. I also encourage you to use the chat box, please, for any reflections that you may have, or to share your experiences. Please feel free to use the chat box as much as you can. But for questions, we encourage you to use the Q&A box rather than the chat. So facilitators will be able to quickly address your questions and answer. If you are an adult, please connect your camera when speaking. Otherwise, please stay on mute and turn off your camera when you are not speaking to make sure the sound is very clear for all of us. If you are a child, and you are free to choose if you want to put your camera or not, right? So also before we start, even if this webinar targets adult civil society practitioners, children are also welcome, very much welcome, and they may also be joining us today. So we want this webinar to be a very safe space for everyone, and especially to the children. So I will invite my colleague Faraja Mugira from Save the Children to guide us on some of our safeguarding considerations. By the way, Faraja is our safeguarding focal point for this webinar. And so for any issues, you can contact her directly. Her email will be shared also in the chat box as we speak. So Faraja, the floor is yours. Thank you. Faraja, are you there? Colleagues, can you confirm that if you are able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Wonderful. Okay. So Faraja will be joining us and will shortly be sharing some of the safeguarding considerations. So if she's around, Faraja, can you show us? Maybe she's trying to unmute herself.
I cannot see her on
Okay, maybe she might have dropped off.
list.
All right, we'll come back. We'll come back to her. So let's now turn to the main focus of the day, and we'll come back to the safeguarding consideration. So again, a very special welcome, warm welcome to you once again, to all of you joining us today. As we get started, I would like to remind everyone, please add your name, organization, title in the chat box. It's always wonderful to see who is in the chat, who is in the room. So the main aim of today's webinar, this very important webinar, is to encourage civil society, whether child rights organization, environmental and child climate focused organizations and groups, could be also child and youth-led initiatives, to integrate climate and environmental issues into their complementary reports to the African Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of the Child. So this webinar will introduce shortly a guidance tool that provides practical steps, very concrete practical steps to support civil society organizations' engagement throughout the entire monitoring and reporting process of the African Committee of Experts. We'll be sharing good practices, we'll be talking about challenges, we'll also be talking about learnings in our reports to the committee, in our alternative reports to the committee, based on lived experiences. All webinar resources, by the way, including the background concept notes, the presentations, the different presentations that will be shared, as well as the recordings, will be available on the How to Child Rights series webpage. I hope you know it, and my colleagues can share the link in the chat box as we speak also. So this this webinar is part of the this How to Child Rights series. This is an interesting and collaborative learning platform, as you know, that Save the Children initiated in 2021 and launched it in 2022. And since May 2025, it is being hosted and managed by Child Rights Connect. So it brings together, civil society organizations, international non-governmental organizations, academic partners, all partners working to strengthen rights-based approaches, be it in development, humanitarian programming, or advocacy. So this launch is part of that series, and we are very pleased to be hosting it on this very important subject. And I should also acknowledge that the planning organization and convening of this webinar has been supported by consortium members of the African Children's Charter Project, ACCP, as well as partners of the CEDA-funded Civil Society Strengthening Program, together with our collaboration with Child Rights Connect Working Group on Child Rights in the Environment. So thank you so much for all partners for your contributions. So now, before we move forward, I would like to pause especially and extend our gratitude to Save the Children, especially to Laure Ato Solomon, who is also the manager of this particular work, and we'll be shortly hearing from him, as well as from civil society organizations who supported the planning of this webinar. Thank you so much, including CSO Forum, CRINSA, East African Child Rights Network, African Child Policy Forum. Thank you very much. Finally, it's also very important to express our gratitude to the Swedish government, through CEDA, of course, for supporting this collaboration among civil society actors worldwide, and especially across Africa. So thank you very much for your support. Let me now quickly walk you through the agenda today. As you might have seen from the various materials we have shared already, we'll begin with a brief overview of the guidance, which will be presented by Ato Solomon Gazahin from Save the Children. Then we will hear experiences from Niger and Kenya as well, from Niger, from Mamiona and Zakari. We'll then move to Kenya, and we will hear from two experts on the subject as well. And then we will open it for questions and reflections with contributions from child rights coalitions, especially from Uganda and Tanzania. We also have, and very grateful to have the committees, the African Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of the Child Secretariat through Sam Rawit. She has also joined us. So we'll be hearing her reflections as well. Finally, we'll be closing it with remarks from our wonderful colleague from Kogmoso, who is the Regional Program Director at CRINSA. So with that, let me begin with inviting Ato Solomon to give us the overview. So Ato Solomon Gazahin from Save the Children, please give us an overview of the guidance. Solomon, the floor is yours, please.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't know if Faraja is with us now.
Yes,
if
thank
Faraja
you
is around.
Yes, thank you for the reminder. Faraja, are you around? Are you there? Okay, if Faraja is not available, our colleagues, can you drop the safeguarding messages, considerations, steps that needs to be taken through the chat box, please? So Ato Solomon, yeah, you can proceed, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Rita. I would also like to say thank you very much. We are now having around more than 150 participants. This is very important now, a document for civil society engagement in environment and climate change from child rights perspective. Rata has already mentioned it. This guidance was developed with the support of CEDA, so I don't want to repeat it. Now I will talk only on 4 issues. Why this guidance was developed, what you'll find in it, and how the process of development of the guidance and how you can use it. So I'm not going in detail, but I'll just give you a snapshot of what is in the guidance. But you can go through the full document which is attached. Okay, let's proceed to the next one. Now, civil society engagement in the incorporation of or integration of environment and climate change in alternative reports, both for the African Charter and the UNCRC has not been so strong so far. But there are good initiatives from across civil society. So the request for having this guidance initially came from the demand from civil society themselves. This is one of the reasons. The other one is we have seen a low integration of environment and climate change in these periodic reports, including in the government report and recommendations from the committee. So this guidance actually aims at bridging that gap. And of course, the main purpose of this guidance is to enable civil society hold states accountable for children's rights to a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment. These are the 3 main reasons why this guidance is developed. We can move to the next one. Okay, this is also very important. The process of developing this guidance, it has taken around a year or more. Basically, it used the how-to the child rights series methodology, which emphasizes co-creation, practical engagement, and wider consultation, practice-based resources and wider consultation. In this regard, also what we did was we had desk review of key documents like states and CSO reports, the committee's the Committee of Experts documents, including the guidelines, studies, and concluding remarks or observations. And also we looked into how to child rights guidances and webinars. The main inspiration for this, for what you are going through now, has come from the consultations that we had with more than 100 persons representing more than 50 organizations. At the beginning of the slide, you saw just quite a few people, a few logos from organizations, but you see that many organizations have taken part in this process. Some of them are international organizations. Most of them are networks, regional networks, country-level networks. So the consultation was very critical. We had key informant interviews, online consultations in 3 languages. After the first draft was developed in English, French, and Portuguese. We also incorporated written inputs from a wide range of actors. More than that, also we just had quick pilot test of this tool when it was at the draft stage in Kenya, when civil societies in Kenya were developing their alternative report. In addition to that, we also had face-to-face consultation when we met last year, by the end of last year in Lesotho, with specialized CSOs like those working on children with disability, gender-based organizations, because the perspective of these different specialized or interest groups should be incorporated in the guide. So what we see now is the outcome of a wide range of participation and also experiences from different from across the continent, I would say. As Rita said earlier, the primary audience of this guide are civil society practitioners, but it is also useful for those who are engaged in advocacy, research work, and those who influence or even this is a useful tool to the African Committee of Experts when they review the country state party reports. This is not a child-friendly guide, but there are good elements in this guide which can be adopted for children. But that will be a next step. But we still have no good components which can be helpful for children's engagement. Let's move to the next one. Okay, what does this guide contain? Basically, this guide has 4 major parts. One, which deals with what you need to know to get started to engage in the preparation and delivery and monitoring of reports to the African Committee of Experts by integrating environment and climate change. And then in part 2, we have this guide contains how to prepare complementary report. The third part deals with how to finalize the report and present to the complementary report at the committee level. And the fourth one, which is very critical, is what's next after the concluding observation recommendation of the committee. What role can civil society play in that at that level? So these are the main four parts of the report, the guide. But we have important elements here as annexes. I think we have around 5 annexes which support those who are interested to do to use this guide in a very simple way. The purpose of the guidance is also included here. When I said that the first part deals with what we need to know to get started, you need to understand and appreciate why you want really to include environment and climate change in your supplementary report. This part deals with this critical question. In doing that, it takes you through the triple planetary crisis and its impact on child rights. By the triple planetary crisis, we are referring to pollution, climate change, and biodiversity degradation, and how this actually affects the rights of children. And the other parts in this section, part 1, also contain rich information on what is African Charter in relation to the environment and climate change, what is African Committee of Experts on the rights and welfare of the child has been doing in this regard, in this same area, because we need to know all those things, to be critical and have a strong report, the supplementary report. We also need to know what state obligations are in relation to environment and climate change, especially based on the committee's resolution number 18 and other UN CRWC instruments or obligations, like we have, for example, the general comment number 26. This guide, you also find what the monitoring reporting process looks like and what roles civil society should play. All of us who are here are not all of us. Some of us may be environment focused. Most of us can be civil society organizations with wider scope of agenda, and some of us can of course be child rights organizations. But we need to know what roles we can have in the monitoring and reporting processes. Once we know this, I think it says Solomon, you have 2 minutes to round up. Okay, I'll speed up. Once we have this, it is easy to get engaged in the reporting and reporting process. Let's proceed. Okay, In this slide, what I would like to share with you is the whole, tool or guidelines that you see in this guidance corresponds to, the different phases, the role of civil society in integrating environment and climate change in all the four phases of the reporting cycle, which includes reports are submission of the reports, the committee's review of the reports, and the committee's issuance of the concluding observations and recommendations, and the implementation by the state and the role that civil society play. There, in summary, it is we can continue. We can have we can summarize this into 4 or 5 key roles. One is, for example, civil society and children do their supplementary reports by integrating environment and climate change. In the second phase, they can engage with committee in pre-sessional meetings, and when the committee is also developing its list of issues. And of course, they can attend when the committee has a session with the state, although they are not allowed to speak. Whatever we do, if it is very good in these 2 phases, it also finds its way in a stronger recommendation by the committee. So that's very important. And finally, after the recommendations are sent to state parties, our role as civil society is following up the implementation of the recommendations. We can proceed to the next step. So, why it matters, I think it's very important. I would only want to pick 1 or 3 points to highlight emergency caused by environmental crisis, to hold governments to account, to spotlight now child rights violation caused by environment and climate change. And there are also others in the list. But ultimately, this should achieve 3 things. 1, improving protection of children, improving the protection of the environment, and improving the accountability and implementation of the Charter for all children. Let's move to the next one. There are 8 steps within which civil society actors can engage in. Step 1 is the planning, and step 2 is developing partnership and working in partnership. Step 3, engaging with children in the reporting process. Step 4, data collection. It keeps on going, defining, validation, and submission. And if you see step 7 and 8 are more of engagement of civil societies based on the recommendations provided by the committee to monitor the implementation of the recommendations. So these are actually following, as I said, the whole programming, the reporting cycle of the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child. Okay, here are examples. Maybe you don't have time to go into these examples, but the most important point I would like to raise is the one which we see in Annex 2 will clearly show you what questions we should ask, and in order to generate now data and to analyze data on environment and climate change to when we are engaging in the reporting process. So let's proceed. Sorry, I'm running out of time, but I need to say that many resources are also attached here. So you can just go in. There are a wide range of resources. You can also access resources from How to Child Rights series. And of course, for many of, this is also in the Child Rights Resource Center. So you can have access to those. That we have different, country examples. You can also benefit from that one. How to use, this guidance, which I think is the last point. In monitoring and reporting, of course, in capacity building, it provides wide range of information and awareness raising. So these are very critical. So what we need really to put forward is the dissemination of the guidance, which is very critical. The slides will be available in PowerPoint, and we urge everybody who are here to do their best to disseminate this guide to the wider civil society. There will be virtual training, and we will also support a couple of countries to integrate this guidance in their work this year. Uganda and Tanzania are two of them. Thank you very much from my side. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Solomon, for that brief but clear overview of the guidance. I know you are a little bit rushed, but you have highlighted the key aspects, the key elements of the guidance. And I really would like to use this opportunity to encourage you that you can already access this guidance note online. My colleague Rehan already posted it on the chat box. So please check it out. It's a very important, very clear, and easy to use material that everyone should have a look at it. And thank you so much. And it was prepared after extensive consultation with a number of partners, which really means that it creates that ownership by civil society organizations. So well done for the Save the Children and its partners in developing this guidance. So let's now, I hope we are good with our time. Sitha is our timekeeper, and please, are we okay with time? Kindly confirm, please. If we are a little bit behind time, we will be able to catch up with the lost time. But thank you so much. Sitha will be keeping an eye on our time. So with that, let's now turn to Kenya, where we will hear insights from Benedict Omilo of the Eastern Africa Child Rights Network, and Nabintu Waknilo from CLACL. So after Kenya, we will turn to Niger to hear from Maimona and Zakari from CONIDE Niger. So I'm pleased to give the floor to Benedict now, Benedict Omilo, who is the Executive Director of the Eastern Africa Child Rights Network, who will introduce the session, followed by Nabintu from CLACL, who will share how the Child Rights Coalition in Kenya has collaborated with university students from Kabarak University and CLACL to pilot elements of this guidance and integrate environment and climate issues into the recent complementary report to the African Committee of Experts. So Benedict and Nabintu, together you have 10 minutes to share your experiences. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Comrade Reta, for that good introduction. And yes, I don't want to take much time. I'll have the first bit of this to introduce my colleague, and then just to give a brief of what the CSOs did last year for the report to the Africa Committee. Kenya submitted its fourth report, state report to the Africa Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of the Child in October 2025, and the civil society also prepared their complementary report, the CSO complementary report, which was annexed by the children's report and also the students' report from the Center for Legal Aid and Clinical Legal Education, CLACO, at the Kabarak University. Just to note that the environment and climate change considerations were mainstreamed across the 8 thematic sections of the main report of the rather than addressed in a standalone chapter kind of. However, CLACL emphasized matters environment and climate change in the students' report. So the report, the main CSO report highlighted the disproportionate impact of climate-related shocks such as droughts, floods, displacement, and conflict on children, particularly those living in arid and semi-arid areas. ECC is analyzed as a cross-cutting driver of child vulnerability, contributing to food insecurity, school disruption, child labor, family separation, protection risks, and psychosocial harm. The report also assesses gaps in national preparedness, including the absence of a fully operational children in emergencies framework and dedicated rapid response financing, and also recommends child-sensitive, climate-resilient social protection and disaster risk reduction. This report was coordinated by the East African Child Rights Network on behalf of a broad coalition of over 30 civil society organizations, including international NGOs, national networks, faith-based organizations, research institutions, and grassroots child-focused groups, not forgetting our comrades from the CLACO. Importantly, children were also engaged as rights holders and contributors through a separate children's complementary report, ensuring meaningful child participation in line with the Charter's principles. Suffice to note that the Center for Legal Aid and Clinical Legal Education, CLACO, at the Kabarak University also submitted, and this is for the first time in the history of reporting, they submitted their complementary report annexed to the CSO report with details on ECC, as mentioned earlier. Allow me to usher in Comrade Nabintu to take us now through the next phase of this. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, good morning for wherever you are joining us from. I hope you can hear me all.
Yes, we can, Nabintu.
Yes, my name is Nabintu Wanchiko Leticia, and I am a student clinician at the Center for Legal Aid and Clinical Legal Education at Kabarak University, Nakuru, Kenya. So this presentation, as Benedict has said, is drawn from the clerical report submitted in response to the Kenyan fourth periodic report to the African Committee of Experts on the Right and Welfare of the Child. And today I'll focus majorly on the findings on one of the key points on children and climate justice in Kenya, especially that point and how it has affected children's rights. So Kenya lie near the equator, and it has 3 distinct seasons. So we have rain seasons, majorly long seasons are experienced from March to May. The shorter rain seasons are experienced from September to December or October, and the dry period from June to September and January to February. And in the northern part of Kenya, we have arid, like the climate is arid, making life always fragile. So traditionally, families and communities could plan their lives around these patterns, knowing when to plant crops, when to harvest, or prepare for dry spells. Today, due to climate change, this predictability, it has become impossible to predict this movement, leaving children exposed to repeated disaster that threaten their survival, education, and childhood itself. So Kenya is a population of 52 million people, 42 of whom are children, majorly 22 million people. And it's well known that climate change hits Kenya very hard, but tracking its specific impact on children is really problematic. Instead, many reports use family household impact as a yardstick. If we see how many households are struggling due to climate change, we can estimate the ripple effect on the children living in those households. This is due to lack of age disaggregated data in Kenyan climate report. So household vulnerability serves as a primary proxy for child welfare. So in short, what I'm trying to say is that family units are treated as the lead indicator to know how many children are being affected, how many have been affected, and how many could be affected in the future. You will see this problem throughout my presentation, this pattern throughout my presentation. My presentation is divided into two parts. Why into two parts? Majorly, my first part will be on overview on how floods has affected Kenya, then how drought has affected Kenya, drought majorly, particularly in the northern part of Kenya. And finally, I will talk about I will discuss the response put in place in Kenya to address these problems, the limitation of those responses, and if times allow, possible pathway. As I was preparing for this report 5 days ago, immense flood hit Nairobi, the capital city of Kenya, displacing thousands of people, and it has been reported that two children died, were confirmed dead among the 27 fatalities. We can predict the toll on Nairobi children by looking at the historical mirror of past floods, how past floods has affected Kenya, because so far we do not have clear data showing how children have been affected 5 days ago by floods that hit Kenya. So in 2024 in Kenya, I'll start in 2024 because it's really difficult to track down the floods that happened in Kenya in 2006 and going back. So in 2024, heavy rains between March and May displaced approximately 76,000 families, affecting about 380,000 people. Homes were swept away, and families were forced to flee. But not all the families were able to flee because moving also became costly. After the floods, many families struggled to rebuild livelihood, and many were unable to prioritize education. So what happened? Many children were reported missing school, especially a survey of 60 schools that has been done shows that more than 20,000 students were dropped out to school. Those who were unable to go didn't go for a long time. After that, we had other floods other heavy floods in late October and nearly November 2025 in Marakwet, which is also near Nairobi. In Marakwet, last year in October, November, up to 25 people were killed due to landslides caused by floods. And more than 1,000 families again were affected. So for us to know how many children were affected, we have to look according to the way report on climate impact on children is being done so far in Kenya. So when we have 1,000 families that are being affected, majorly after floods, families prioritize livelihood sustenance instead of children education. And sometimes with floods, especially in county like Marakwet, it's very difficult to talk of livelihood after floods because they rely majorly on agriculture for living. And with floods, everything was gone. So children were forced to stay young, were suffering from hunger and all other associated rights that have been violated. At the same
Sorry
time,
to interrupt, Nabintu. Can you wrap up in 1 minute? We're a little bit over time.
yes, I can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We also have droughts. If I could go on droughts, droughts also has affected a lot of students in the northern part of Kenya. So it has been reported also that Kajiado, Turkana, and Narok, up to 95% of school dropouts were directly linked to droughts. And many times when droughts happen, it affects student education. And when student education is being affected, many students are forced to stay at home and start doing adult work, like looking for water, looking for food, and all that. And majorly, the Kenyan response so far, I will stop from here. The Kenyan response so far has been very reactive and short term, and majorly rely on and majorly assume one disaster at a time. But so far, we are frequent so far, floods and droughts become more frequent in Kenya. So we have, let's say, 2024 we had floods, 2025 we had floods, 2026 in March we had flood, and climate response in Kenya has become very overwhelming. And the measures that are in place so far include deploying military.
Okay, Nabintu, we are disconnected. But yeah, can you kindly wrap? Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Nabintu. Thank you very much, Benedict and Nabintu, for sharing those valuable insights from Kenya and showing how the collaboration with Kabarak University and Klakel is wonderful, and your effort to integrate climate and environmental issues into the complementary report is really, really commendable. Thank you so much for sharing. With that, let's now move on to Niger. We will hear from Zakari. We'll hear from Zakari Ibrahim, Program Manager at CONAID Niger, who will introduce, followed by Maimuna Maman, responsible for child rights governance. Zakari and Maimuna, you have 10 minutes between the two of you to share how Niger Child Rights Coalition has worked to integrate environment and climate issues into the complementary report on the chapter. So over to you, colleagues.
Merci, Monsieur Rita. Bonsoir à tout le monde. C'est un grand honneur pour la coalition des organisations nigériennes du droit de l'enfant CONID, dont je suis le responsable du programme, d'être avec vous aujourd'hui pour partager l'expérience de la société civile nigérienne dans l'intégration des questions environnementales et de changement climatique dans le cycle de rapportage relativement à la Charte africaine des droits et du bien-être de l'enfant, KDBE. Je devais en principe faire cette présentation avec ma collègue mademoiselle Maimouna, qui est la responsable gouvernance des droits de l'enfant au niveau de la CONID, mais qui est en déplacement en mission de terrain à 300 km de la capitale, avec une connexion très défaillante. Donc, si elle n'arrive pas à se connecter, et je m'en vais présenter intégralement cette communication que nous avons préparée à l'occasion de ce webinaire. Mais avant d'entrer le vif du sujet, je prends quelques secondes pour dire merci aux initiateurs de cette noble action de prise en compte de l'environnement et du changement climatique dans le cycle de rapportage. Un phénomène qui est mondial, mais qui est aussi plus impactant dans nos pays de l'Afrique de l'Ouest, qui sont au cœur du Sahara et du Sahel. Merci particulièrement à Laure, qui a longuement échangé avec nous sur cette question et que j'ai eu le plaisir de croiser à Massirou récemment lors de la 46e session ordinaire du Comité africain d'experts. Alors, voici le menu de cette communication. Dans un premier temps, nous allons vous rappeler le contexte de notre pays, le Niger. Après le contexte, nous allons présenter rapidement notre coalition. Après cette présentation de notre coalition, nous allons démontrer comment nous avons pris en compte, tant bien que mal, avec les outils que nous avons, la question du changement climatique et de l'environnement dans notre dernier rapport. Ensuite, suite à nos propositions de recommandations au comité africain, pour que celui-ci également adresse ses recommandations à l'État. Effectivement, le comité a adressé des recommandations et observations à l'État du Niger sur les questions concernant l'environnement et le changement climatique. Ensuite, nous allons voir de cette présentation quelle sera la valeur ajoutée de ce guide lors de l'élaboration de notre prochain rapport de la société civile sur la charte qui sera produite en 2027. Plaise à Dieu. Et je terminerai cette communication avec les défis et quelques leçons apprises. Alors, sans tarder, par rapport au contexte, je dois rappeler que le Niger est un pays situé en Afrique de l'Ouest, au cœur du Sahara et du Sahel. C'est un pays qui est régulièrement frappé par les inondations suite aux fortes précipitations. C'est un pays également qui fait face à l'avancée croissante du désert vers la zone sédentaire. Et ces phénomènes que je viens de décrire provoquent ou bien exacerbent chaque année l'insécurité alimentaire et nutritionnelle avec un fort impact sur les enfants, la destruction des habitations, et une fois les habitations détruites, tombées suite aux fortes précipitations, eh bien, les familles sinistrées occupent les écoles les plus proches, puisque la plupart des écoles, presque dans chaque village, on trouve des écoles en matériaux définitifs. Et les familles se dirigent vers ces écoles pour se mettre à l'abri. Ensuite, les situations des inondations, mais aussi la sécheresse, conduisent à la déscolarisation des enfants, notamment des jeunes filles. Cela conduit également les déplacements des populations. Et quand on assiste à des déplacements des populations, nous assistons également à beaucoup de formes d'exploitation et d'abus. Et enfin, nous avons les risques élevés de plusieurs maladies, notamment le paludisme, le choléra, la méningite, etc., etc. Donc voilà un peu le contexte du Niger en lien avec cette problématique de l'environnement et du changement climatique, ainsi que les impacts que cela induit sur la vie des enfants. Par rapport à la CONIT est un collectif. C'est un réseau de 96 ONG et associations qui sont présents dans les 8 régions du Niger. Et cette coalition a été créée en 2010, ici même à Niamey, la capitale du Niger. La CONIT est une coalition qui est très active sur les questions de gouvernance des droits de l'enfant, mais également le plaidoyer et l'influencing, le renforcement des capacités des acteurs, la promotion de la participation des enfants, qui est un des 4 principes fondamentaux du droit de l'enfant. Nous sommes également très actifs dans l'accompagnement des collectivités territoriales et des ministères à intégrer la question des droits de l'enfant dans leur planification et dans leur budgétisation. Nous sommes également sur la question de la responsabilité sociale des entreprises. CONIT, depuis sa création, aujourd'hui a élaboré plusieurs rapports et les a soumis et a présenté ces rapports, tantôt alternatifs, tantôt complémentaires, sur la CDE, sur la Charte africaine des droits et libertés de l'enfant, mais également sur l'EPI, l'examen périodique universel. Depuis 2025, la CONIT a un statut d'observateur auprès du Comité africain d'experts sur les droits et les biens de l'enfant. Je m'en vais maintenant vous présenter comment la CONID a pris en compte la problématique liée au changement climatique et à l'environnement dans son dernier rapport. Le dernier rapport de la CONID a été élaboré en 2023 et a été présenté lors de la pré-session du Comité africain tenu à Addis, en Éthiopie. Nous avons dans un premier temps dans ce processus mis en place un comité de rédaction du rapport de la société civile, un comité qui est pluridisciplinaire, et nous avons veillé à ce que parmi les structures qui composent ce comité, qu'il y ait des structures qui soient spécialisées sur les questions climatiques et les questions de l'environnement. Nous avons au Niger, par exemple, une jeune structure qui maîtrise ces questions, qui est dénommée JVE. Au niveau de la collecte de données également, nous avons fait en sorte que les collecteurs de données se renseignent sur le nombre d'écoles qui sont inondées ou également la fréquence des maladies dans les zones inondées, les questions liées à la protection de l'enfant, à l'alimentation et à l'abri. Nous avons récolté des témoignages et c'est comme ça que nous avons réussi à intégrer les questions de l'environnement et changement climatique dans notre rapport de façon transversale sur les questions de protection, éducation, santé, etc. Maintenant, dans notre rapport, voici le constat que nous avons fait en lien avec la question de l'environnement et le changement climatique. Dans un premier temps, nous avons au niveau du quatrième principe sur le droit de l'enfant, droit à la vie, à la survie et au développement. En tant qu'OSC, Organisation de la société civile, nous avons attiré l'attention du comité sur le fait que malgré tous les efforts déployés par le gouvernement, les effets du changement climatique, tels que les inondations, les crises et les catastrophes, sont en train de rendre impossible la réalisation de certains droits reconnus aux enfants au Niger. Nous avons également alerté le comité dans notre rapport sur l'impact des inondations sur les écoles. Nous avons évoqué que la rentrée scolaire souvent au Niger, la rentrée scolaire s'effectue le 1er octobre de chaque année. Mais il arrive que la rentrée soit reportée jusqu'au 1er novembre parce que les écoles sont occupées par les familles sinistrées.
Zachary, apologies to interrupt.
Rapidement.
Can you wrap up? Can you wrap it up? Time is already up, but let me give you the last 30 seconds, please, to wrap up.
Merci. Merci bien.
Okay, thank you. Okay, nothing. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Zachary. Thank you for rushing you up again. We're rushing with time. Hope you'll understand, but thank you so much.
Sorry,
now we will open the floor for questions and reflections. And we would like to begin with Tanzania. Tanzania has already indicated that they have a question. So Ombeni Kimaro, who is the national coordinator of the Tanzania Child Rights Forum, will share one or two practical questions and reflections for our colleagues from Niger and Kenya. And as Tanzania prepares its own CSO reports on the charter, Ombeni, you can quickly take the floor and please stick to 2 minutes. Please. Thank you.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes. Yes, we can hear you, Ombeni. Please proceed. Ombeni? Ombeni, we can't hear you. Ombeni? Okay, I think Ombeni may have connection problem. So as we wait from Ombeni, just in the interest of time, can we proceed to Uganda? Damon, if you're ready. Damon is Executive Director of the Ugandan Child Rights NGO Network. So Damon, can you share your reflections or questions?
Sorry,
To our
Gitacho,
colleagues from
can you hear me from this end? Sorry.
Ombeni, okay, you're back.
Okay,
Ombeni, okay, please proceed.
Oh, thank you very much. Sorry for the interruption. That's internet interruption. Okay, let me quickly use the 2 minutes you have given me. I'm Ombeni Kimaro, as you have introduced me. I'm leading the Tanzania Child Rights Network, the network that is mandated to coordinate the monitoring of child rights implementation in Tanzania. And we have been collaborating with the government to ensure that the state is accountable to implement the convention in the country, as well as preparing the alternative report. As of now, we are sure that the state report will be submitted soon. And the CSO, we are in the process of preparing the alternative report. And we are going also to engage children to have them prepare their own report to the ACRWC. Now, we hope that we are going to prepare the report with the guidance with us and the sharing that we have heard from our colleagues. We are sure that we are going to use the guidance properly, and the experience that our friends have shared with us to ensure that we have a very comprehensive alternative report that incorporate the ECC. Thank you very much for the 2 seconds you have given me. Given a chance, we might have more to share. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for keeping time, 2 minutes. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ombeni. Can we proceed to Damon? Damon, I have already introduced you, so you can jump in now if you're ready.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope I'm still audible. Am I?
Yes.
Thank you. As introduced, that is my name, and I'm the Executive Director of Uganda Child Rights NGO Network that brings together close to 200 child rights organizations in Uganda. Like my colleague Ombeni Kimaro, we are also due to submit our report, and we are engaging the government to ensure that they submit the report as soon as possible, lobbying with the government on that and having the engagement with the civil society begin. As a civil society, I think from the CSO forum conversation and having to hear also the experience from both Kenya and Niger are quite welcoming and mind-blowing for us to look into and see how we can incorporate it. I think for me, the key thing is that we're moving a step forward from having the conversation in words and having them into action. We need to continue to emphasize that climate change is a child rights issue, and it is something that affects children. The key reason and my reflection is around ensuring that when it comes to governments, and like many governments in Africa, when it comes to issues of children, they are pushed to one corner. They're pushed to one ministry or one department, depending on where they fall. And when it comes to then issues of climate change that fall under environment or government or any or minerals that are in another ministry, then the issues are not handled effectively, and the cost of inaction is not dealt with. I think for me, the key reflection around that is how we are able to bring the issues of climate change into child rights mechanism and ensure that we are able to record them, and we are occupying all the spaces where we can show and bring the impact of climate change on the violations of children, and how, like Kenya has shared and Niger has shared, on how they are affecting them from achieving their goal and their rights. I think for me, those are the key reflections. And because you've given me 22 minutes, I would have taken more time to reflect. But the key question for me now to Niger, probably Niger, I'll go to Niger because Kenya is close and I know we share quite a number of things. The key question I throw to Niger are in two forms. One, how effective are you going to carry on from the whole collecting of the information, because we know there are two stages. The first stage is collecting, presenting, and then using this as an advocacy. How much further is the coalition going to take on, and how prepared are we to take on the conversation? And secondly, since you are leading as the coalition in Niger, what are the steps we are also taking, or you are taking as a coalition? What are the steps you are taking to ensure that as you lead, the government equally does report on climate issues? And I want to thank everyone, and thank you so much for the opportunity. Solomon, team from Laure, and everyone from Save the Children. I think we are now moving away from talking, and we're now going to action. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Damon. Perfect. Thank you so much for your reflections. Was very helpful. So we will shortly hear reflections from the committee secretariat. Samrait is with us. But before that, let me invite responses from Kenya and Niger. Niger, Zakari, you did not get a chance to wrap up your thoughts. You can use this opportunity to wrap up your reflections. But before that, Kenya, if you have Benedict, Nabintu, if you'd like to say something from for questions and reflections raised already from Uganda and Tanzania, the floor is yours.
Thank you, comrade. And what I'll just say is to be intentional on the ECC in reporting, because as a comrade from Uganda has mentioned, sometimes these matters on child rights and environment are not taken seriously by our states. And again, also ensuring that we ensure that during the state reports, when the states are preparing their reports, we as civil society organizations also engage, especially in the validation, and ensure that we also engage in the whole process, because we have also to occupy that, so that we ensure that the ECC issues are also captured in the state report, because they might go silent on them, and perhaps when we are preparing our complementary report, it might be quite challenging to respond to that. So first, we have to start with ensuring that states also embrace this, and it will be very, very imperative to also have this guide, shared, or the state parties be capacitated on this guidance. Thank you.
Thank you, Benedict. Thank you so
perhaps,
much.
Retta, can you hear me?
Yes.
There are two questions for both in the chat, not in the chat, but in the Q&A. I don't know. Are we coming back to these questions or?
Yes, we're coming back to these questions.
Okay.
We'll open the floor to the audience, and then we'll come back to these questions on the chat. No problem. Okay, Zakari, do you like to come in now?
Okay. Merci aux collègues qui ont intervenu après nos communications. J'ai noté deux questions. La première question concerne le Niger et le Kenya sur comment nous avons procédé à la collecte de données sur l'environnement et le changement climatique. Nous avons élaboré des outils de collecte de données et nous avons responsabilisé les membres du comité d'action du rapport de la société civile à se diriger vers le ministère de la gestion des catastrophes et crises humanitaires pour récolter les informations sur le nombre des enfants affectés par ces crises. Nous avons également orienté ces questionnaires, ces outils vers le ministère de l'Éducation pour voir le nombre des écoles qui sont encore occupées par les sinistrés pendant la rentrée. Et nous avons exploité des rapports des partenaires techniques et financiers, les agences des Nations Unies, qui font des rapports circonstanciels chaque fois qu'il y a des crises et catastrophes. Et c'est l'ensemble de ces données que nous avons analysées pour pouvoir intégrer ces constats que nous avons faits dans notre rapport. Pour la deuxième question sur le suivi, nous avons, une fois que le rapport de la société civile a été présenté devant le comité africain, il s'en est suivi le rapport de l'État et l'État a reçu les recommandations dont certains sont en lien direct avec la question des effets du changement climatique. Nous avons élaboré un plan de suivi de ces recommandations, un plan de suivi au niveau national, mais aussi un plan de suivi dans les 8 régions. Et nous sommes en train de suivre à travers le monitoring et nos rapports sur l'état du lieu de la mise en œuvre du droit de l'enfant au Niger pour voir qu'est-ce que l'État a pu faire pour mettre en place, mettre en œuvre les différentes recommandations que le comité lui a adressées. Je vais profiter pour conclure ma communication que je commençais tout à l'heure en disant que quand nous avons eu des données spécifiques sur l'impact du changement climatique et l'environnement sur la réalisation des droits de l'enfant, notamment en ce qui concerne l'éducation, la santé, la protection de l'enfant, nous avons intégré des recommandations dans notre rapport en direction de l'État du Niger. Et le comité, quand il a examiné le rapport de l'État du Niger en 2024, c'était à Massirou, on était présent dans la salle, le comité a demandé à l'État du Niger de prendre des mesures urgentes pour protéger les écoles, protéger les enfants et apporter des réponses aux enfants victimes des inondations et catastrophes. Et c'est grâce à notre alerte que le comité a adressé ces recommandations à l'État du Niger. Et l'État du Niger est en train de s'activer justement avec le peu de moyens dont il dispose, avec l'accompagnement du partenaire pour donner un effet à ces recommandations. Je termine en disant que ce guide va nous aider dans notre rapport de la société civile sur la charte que nous allons élaborer en 2027. Avec ce guide, nous allons prendre en compte toutes les dimensions liées à l'environnement et au changement climatique et nous allons élaborer des outils plus approfondis. Nous allons également collecter le maximum de données pour que cette question-là soit suffisamment et totalement prise en compte dans notre rapport et que les recommandations que nous allons proposer vont être les meilleures recommandations pour apporter une réponse à cette problématique qui affecte gravement le Niger. Je vous remercie.
Thank you so much, Zachary, for those reflections. Thank you so much. There are questions in the Q&A chat box. Please, I kindly request Benedict, Nabintu, and Zachary to have a look at the questions and see if you could respond to those questions. Very interesting questions are there. In the meantime, can we hear from Kyla James? We encourage you to really use the Q&A if you have any questions. We may not have a lot of time for a live Q&A, but I'll give at least two chances if anyone would like to unmute microphone and ask questions or share experience. But in the meantime, Kyla James, please proceed. And keep it short, please. Kyla? Kyla James? Okay. So Benedict Nabintu, maybe for you, if you'd like to respond to any of the questions raised in the Q&A box, you are more than welcome. Nabintu, did you get a chance to have a look at the questions? Or Benedict?
Yes.
Or Zachary? Yeah, Nabintu, please proceed.
Well, thank you. So how we collect which methodology we used in collecting child data, which kind of evidence we used. So far when we relied mainly on reports, NGOs reports based in Kenya, and also UNICEF produced a report, 2025 reports on how climate change has affected children in Kenya. But majorly when you read, we read up to 10 to 15 reports, and the main outcome of those reports is that it's very difficult to track how climate change impacts children in Kenya. What has been done in those reports is to look at how climate change has affected families and households. And from there, we see how many children, we estimate how many children like are in each household in order to estimate the effect or impact of climate change in them. For example, in northern Kenya, it has been reported in school that students after drought or during drought are not going back to school. But you will see the reports are going down into the household of those children to look at why, and you realize that when drought occurs, families do not have food. When they do not have food, the money that was intended to pay the child's school fee is being the father, the mother direct the money to pay now, let's say, food and all that. Once food is over, they become unable to pay food, they have to move. Again, to move it depends on how much they have, because moving again became very costly. So some go move are being displaced by food, they have to walk a very long trajet, and others are just forced to stay. And it's just very difficult, because when you go in Nairobi become very difficult, because when there is floods, many students are not even, it's very rare to see how many, it's very difficult to say how many are going back to school and how their household have been affected, because we don't have necessary data, but you can just, we were guessing some some stages, especially when you see how many children have been arrested during flood moment in Kenya. You check, many of them live in camps. And when they live in camps, you understand why they were arrested is, once you are let's say a child refugee, floods happen, you have to protect yourself. And when you go to in the street, you are considered a petty offender, because there is a law in Kenya that stop children to beg on streets. If it's not that, you are considered an undocumented children. So you find yourself in a prison just like that. So that's how we were looking for data. And yes, I have also to acknowledge that we have there is many limitations on them, but that's the way we we go about them. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nabintu. Thank you. Now we have with us, as I have introduced you earlier, we have with us Samrawit Gaitana, who is a Senior Child Rights Protection Officer at the African Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of the Child Secretariat. So would love to hear her reflections on what has already been said from the 4 countries and from Matusalamon as well. So can I invite Samrawit? You have the floor. My apologies for keeping you online.
Thank you very much, Retta. I would like to first start by thanking the organizers on behalf of the committee secretariat, as well as the Working Group on Children's Rights and Climate Change, to thank Save the Children, ACPF, How to Child Rights, and Child Rights Connect for your leadership and for bringing us together here today. But I would also like to thank the interventions from Kenya, especially Nabintu Wanchiko and Zakari Ibrahim from Niger, for clearly demonstrating the gravity of the impact of climate change on children's rights and well-being, demonstrating exactly why we need this guidance note. Also, speaking a bit on the importance of the guidance note, it's directly linked with the evidence gap that the committee faces. As has been said by the different interventions, the African Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of the Child reviews state party reports and CSO complementary reports periodically to assess how children's rights are being realized across different countries in the continent. But the reality is that when it comes to climate change and environment, the committee has consistently lacked the disaggregated country-specific and also location-specific evidence it needs to issue targeted and actionable recommendations on environment and climate change related issues. And you can see that if you review the past concluding recommendations of the committee. The African Charter itself is uniquely placed to address children's rights and environment and climate change, as it covers a wide range of rights. It covers health, survival, development, adequate standard of living, and the best interest of the child. But the committee can only work with the evidence that it has, and the committee doesn't have presence on the ground on state parties. So CSO complementary reports, the quality of the reports and what is contained in the report is so instrumental in the output document of the committee. Without good CSO documentation, climate change risks become invisible in concluding observations, and this invisibility has real-life consequences for children who are facing the brunt of the crisis, as we've heard today. So the guidance note, I would say, is really a game changer for the committee and its working group on children's rights and climate change. It operationalizes the committee's resolution 18/2022, which called for a child rights-based approach for climate action across the continent, and which also made environment and climate change a thematic priority for the work of the committee. As the document gives civil societies a concrete tool to translate the political commitment into evidentiary action. It also works at the exact rights pressure point, as has been demonstrated by the interventions from Niger and Kenya. The CSO reports feed the pre-session process of the committee's review, which then directly shapes concluding observations and recommendations. The Kenya CSO report is a good example where the submissions that were made enabled the committee, the secretariat and the committee to include specific questions on climate change to the government of Kenya while issuing the list of issues to the government of Kenya. So the next step is the government of Kenya would respond to the questions issued with specific answers on what it's doing in relation to climate change. The Niger also is a great example on how when you have very specific evidence base and you give recommendation, then you see that play out in real life and affect real actions and decisions at country level. So what the committee needs from CSOs is context-specific data on how climate hazards such as droughts, floods, extreme heat, and others, sea level rise, and also other factors affect children's rights in your country. So how it affects health, education, survival and development, violence, so a wide range of children's rights. We know that it does affect all the spectrum of children's rights, but how it does is the question. Evidence of state action and inaction in adapting to climate change is also very important. What the state is doing to adapt to climate change, how child sensitive that is, and documentation of the most affected children, rural children, children in poverty, children in street situations, girls, children with disability, and much more. So I think the bigger picture is that this eventually will lead to a wider pool of evidence on the issue of climate change and children's rights in the continent, and will help us to achieve accountability eventually on the wide range of issues that need to be taken into account. I know that my time is very short, so I would like to close by a call to action for the CSOs present here today to use this guidance note, as it was built on your experience and your knowledge, and it reflects the realities of children in the continent. It's not a textbook exercise, but a practical tool that's streamlined to the committee's review process. So I would really encourage you, and on behalf of the working group, call that you use this guidance note. And on our side, the Secretariat commits to engaging the committee's working group to interrogate submitted reports through the lens of climate change, environment, and children's rights. Africa's children are among the least responsible for climate change globally and among the most exposed to its harms. The Charter gives us the legal framework to address this, and the guidance notes gives us the roadmap. What we need now is the evidence, and we are best place to do this together. So thank you so much for this opportunity and also for the guidance notes.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Samrawi. Thank you very much for those important reflections from the committee secretariat point of view. It's great that your reflection also connects the guidance to the broader regional framework, and it reinforcing also the relevance of this guidance. So thank you so much. So before we close, I would like to invite Solomon or Laure to address any questions left unanswered in the chat window. Several of the questions have been answered already, but if you'd like to say anything before we proceed to Cogmoso, you have the floor, Solomon.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Only a couple of things. One, this guide is one question was this how to guide, environment and climate change is also included in the guidance, the guide issued by the Secretariat. The difference is this is in depth totally and totally focusing on how to integrate environment and climate change from the civil society perspective. The whole guidance is on the integration of environment and climate change. I will conclude by saying that I would like to discuss with later on with our colleagues from Uganda and Tanzania how to best support them in their initiative. Thank you. Over to you. Laure, if you have any point, please.
Yeah.
Hi, colleagues. Thank you so much. I saw a lot of questions about data collection, where do you find the information and how do you collect? And the colleagues have already answered how they have done. But just to let you know that we have also raised this question when we were consulting about guidance, and we collected this information in the guidance. And in the Annex 2, for example, you will see there is, it helps you to analyze how it looks like in your country in relation to climate and environmental impacts. So you have links on like databases and websites that can help you really zoom on your country and see what is happening, as well as links and sources of information or guidance or databases to look at child rights and children in your country. So hopefully this will help you as well as the policy and legal frameworks that are available to know what are the states supposed to do actually. We have, of course, the Charter, Resolution 18, General Comment 26, and also there's other commitments states may have. So that's what I wanted to highlight, just encouraging you all to have a look at the guidance, its annexes. If you're reporting soon, just test it, see if it's helping you, and give us feedback, because we would love to know how it goes for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Laure and Solomon. Thank you, really, really, really. Thank you very much for everyone who has contributed to this rich discussion. Our colleagues from Kenya, Niger, Tanzania, Uganda, and the committee secretariat, as well as Save the Children. Thank you so much. And all of you who've joined us today for sharing your questions, reflections from the floor, as well as online. It's really, I'm really confident looking at this material. I'm really confident that this new guidance can strengthen reporting, can support the integration of climate and environmental issues in our monitoring and reporting process, in the committee's monitoring and reporting process and procedures, and it will also help amplify children's voices. So as we come to the end of this session, it's now my pleasure to invite Cogmoso Montosho, the Regional Program Director at Child Rights Network of Southern Africa, to deliver the closing remarks and bring us together with some final reflections. So Cogmoso, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and good afternoon to colleagues and friends within the children's sector. I think it goes without to say that based on today's conversation, it's very clear that integrating environmental and climate change issues into the African Charter's reporting process It's not a matter of choice, but it's a critical step required to promote all rights for all children under all circumstances. And it's through reporting that state part will be able to demonstrate the commitment they are making in promoting and protecting children's rights. Therefore, we cannot just look at the government. The integration of environmental issues and climate change into the reporting process requires a multifaceted approach, which calls for everyone to come on board. It's our call. We've received the guidelines. The fundamental question is what we do with it. My call to all of us is that let's make concerted effort to ensure that we reach out to our networks, our government, and other partners to ensure that we make this known and it becomes one of our marching orders. As you all know, the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child provides a framework for states to prioritize children's rights, including the right to a healthy environment. Therefore, through these guidelines, it provides the opportunity for us to realize that a mandate. By reporting on environmental and climate change issues, it will help us to identify gaps, but most importantly, to mobilize resources and develop targeted intervention to support children in addressing the overwhelming impact of the climate change and environmental issues that they are exposed to. My colleagues, our distinguished, our esteemed panelists have shared practical examples in terms of how climate change and environmental issues affect children. Therefore, by integrating the reporting, this into reporting will help us, but most importantly, to promote transparency and accountability and empower us to hold the government accountability in terms of their commitment. Above all, integrating environment and climate change issue into the reporting process, as reflected by my colleagues, is about securing a sustainable future for Africa's children. This will ensure that children inherit a continent that is resilient, healthy, and thriving. I therefore urge all of us to make concerted effort once again in disseminating this important resource to all our nets, including and ensure that effectively implement this establish the subject, and launching the Save the Children has extended ownership of these guidelines to all of us. And the honor lies in us to ensure that we translate this into reality. Lastly, I wish to express words of appreciation to Save the Children and partners for developing this enable guide. Your dedication to supporting children's rights and environmental sustainability in Africa is truly commendable. This resource will undoubtedly empower state and stakeholders to prioritize children's environmental rights, driving positive change for the continent's youngest citizen. And to that, I want to say, Makulu Umuntu, which means great work. Once again, it takes a village to raise a child. Together, we can build a bright future for Africa's children. Obrigado, asante san. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kogmoso, for those remarks. With that, colleagues, we officially close the session. Thank you once again, and goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you and goodbye. Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.